A DNA discovery reveals the truth about Native Americans, then this changed the history. Human DNA was indeed first discovered in the 1860s, marking a significant milestone in our understanding of human life. Since then, scientists have made numerous discoveries that shed light on early human history. In 2018, a notable breakthrough occurred when a team of scientists unearthed the skeletons of two Native American infants. This discovery yielded unexpected information and valuable insights that extended beyond their initial expectations. Read on through this incredible story in order to learn more. The discovery of the infant skeletons. In 2018, archaeologists unearthed the skeletons of two Native American infants. Remarkably, these skeletons were approximately 11,500 years old and belonged to individuals from the same family. The exceptional preservation of these remains provided scientists with valuable insights into early human history, offering crucial information about the earliest human inhabitants of North America and their migratory patterns. It all started in Upward Sun River, Alaska in the early 2000s. Professor Ben Potter, an anthropology expert, embarked on an excavation project in Upward Sun River, Alaska. This remote forested area, located approximately 50 miles from Fairbanks, posed challenges of accessibility and could only be reached by helicopter. Potter's decision to excavate in this region was based on compelling reasons. The geological history suggests that the area was once connected to Europe and Africa, making it an intriguing site for studying ancient human migrations and the peopling of the Americas. What is Burinia? When the supercontinent Pangaea started to break apart, certain land bridges remained intact, providing connections between different continents. Africa is widely recognized as the birthplace of the earliest known humans, but human migration subsequently took place across the globe. Burinia, the land bridge spanning from Siberia to Alaska, is of particular significance in understanding the peopling of North America. Many archaeologists hypothesize that the first humans to populate North America crossed this bridge approximately 34,000 years ago. However, it is important to note that this theory is still subject to ongoing research and investigation. The Burinan standstill hypothesis. Archaeologists suggest that early humans crossed Burinia, but their identity remains unknown. The Burinan standstill hypothesis offers insight. Ancient Burinans likely resided in isolation on Burinia due to icy conditions. If accurate, they could be the exclusive forebears of Native Americans, as proposed by archaeologist Jennifer Raff. Potter collaborated with local Native Americans. The title Upward Sun River originates from the Athabascan Zasauna language, spoken by present-day Native Americans in Alaska. Potter's excavation efforts were conducted in collaboration with the Native community. Recognizing the significance of his work, the natives graciously extended their assistance to him. Potter discovered something in 2010. In 2010, Potter and a team of University of Alaska researchers conducted a search at Upward Sun River, where they made a remarkable find: the cremated remains of a 3-year-old child. This discovery, dating back 11,500 years, was highly unusual. Regrettably, the skeleton was not well preserved, making it impossible to extract DNA or determine the child's gender. Despite the letdown, Potter didn't give up. Despite their limited success, Potter and his team did not give up. They continued to excavate in that area for 8 more years. Then, Potter and his colleagues, Jose Victor Moreno Mayar and Lasse Vinner, found their big break. They unearthed a burial site in an area of Alaska that was around 15,000 years old. Finally, they found the skeletons of 2 infants there. Potter and his team discovered 2 infant skeletons. One seemed to be a stillborn, the other was between 6 and 12 weeks old. Like the 3-year-old, the 2 seemed to have been cremated, as their remains rested on a fire pit. However, these remains were much more preserved and easier to identify. The burial ground was well preserved. The 2 infants were buried beneath multiple items and covered in red ochre. This ochre, which was likely part of the funeral process, further preserved the skeletons. The babies were also buried beneath a mixture of sand and soil. This high-acidity mixture is ideal for conservation. Clearly, the people who buried them loved them dearly. Who were the two girls? DNA testing revealed that both infants were girls and that they were both related, possibly first cousins. The stillborn died at 30 weeks old, having never gotten the chance to live. The local native community named the girls Zakatiinantidgae Sunrise Girl Child and Yelkanantidgae Dawn Twilight Girl Child. Other items were in the grave, too. This gravesite was clearly important to the mourners. Archaeologists discovered many other items in the grave, such as antler and spear points. Both girls were buried together in a joint funeral. However, Sunrise Girl, the 6-week-old infant, seemed to be better preserved and served as the basis for most of the DNA results. What, exactly, were the researchers studying? To examine the DNA, geneticists had to dig into the mitochondria. Science students remember the mitochondria as the powerhouse of the cell because, without it, cells die. Every cell in the body contains DNA, and the mitochondria is responsible for running cells. Hence, the scientists need undamaged cells to examine, which is easier said than done. Here's why they couldn't study the 3-year-old. Old bones are not guaranteed to have live cells. If scientists want to examine DNA, they need a thick enough bone that is decently preserved. Usually, researchers test the petrous bone, which is at the base of the skull. Because the 3-year-old's bones were too damaged, researchers could not test the DNA. But with the two infants, they could. What came from the DNA tests? The first round of DNA tests, performed at the University of Alaska, revealed the ethnicity of Sunrise Girl. According to the results, she was closely related to Native Americans, but in a distinct way. Scientists believe that her DNA is far older than any previously tested remains. In other words, she is a previously unknown genetic population of Native Americans. They revealed a new ancient human. This previously unknown DNA, which scientists dubbed USR1, dates back at least 20,000 years and possibly as far back as 34,000. Quillerslev, the study's co-author and professor at the University of Copenhagen, says that they are the oldest known Native Americans to date.
It changes our understanding of the timing of events that form the genetics of Native Americans,
Quillerslev told CNN Health. They might be ancient Birinen. Sunrise Girl's DNA lends credence to the Birinen standstill hypothesis. Scientists believe that she might be an ancient Birinen that experts had only theorized about beforehand.
We think the explanation for this pattern, the one that requires the least movement, was that Native Americans were somewhere in Birinia 20,000 years ago,
explained Victor Moreno-Mayar, another author of the study. But the two girls had different DNA. The first DNA analysis was done on the 6-week-old skull. Geneticists expected the second infant to have similar DNA. But surprisingly, she didn't. Dawn Twilight Girl, the stillborn, was examined at the University of Copenhagen, Denmark. She had an entirely different maternal lineage compared to her first cousin, and the lineages were not related. Researchers say there were two branches of Native Americans. Geneticists have separated Native Americans into two branches, Northern and Southern. The Northern group came from East Asia and likely inhabited North America, including Alaska and Canada. At some point, the group split and the Southern Native Americans migrated to South America. They all descended from the ancient Birinens, but the separation created variations in their DNA. The two infants had different ethnicities. In simpler terms, DNA tests indication that both girls belong to two separate groups. Sunrise Girl belonged to the ancient Birinias, while Dawn Twilight Girl came from another ethnicity, one more closely related to the northern Native Americans. This begets the question, how did these two groups of people end up in the same place at the same time? However, Sunrise Girl belonged to a mysterious third group. Surprisingly, Sunrise Girl did not belong to either of these groups. This means that the ancient Birinians split into at least 3 groups, if not more. With demographic modeling, scientists estimated that Native Americans left East Asia 36,000 years ago. By 20,000 years ago, this group split. But if they split, why were these 2 infants buried together? All groups split off from one. In the study, archaeologists hypothesize that the 2 groups stuck together at least once, hence why the girls were related. They propose 2 possibilities for this. The Birinians might have split before crossing the bridge, only to reunite later. Or, the Birinians might have separated after crossing. Potter prefers the latter theory. Perhaps they split before Birinia. Potter has a theory for how these 2 groups came together. During an interview with The Atlantic, he suggested that both groups independently crossed Birinia. Perhaps they traveled on different paths at separate times. Usually, this theory would seem a bit far-fetched. But there is some evidence to back it up. Support for Potter's theory. In 2017, archaeologists examined the Bluefish Caves in Canada's Yukon Territory. According to a study on these caves, scientists found evidence of human cut markings that were 24,000 years old. If this is accurate, as Raff believes it is, then humans had crossed Birinia at least 24,000 years ago. That was over a decade before the 2 girls were born. Some experts argued against Potter's conclusions. The main argument against this finding is just that, it's a single finding. Dennis O'Rourke, a geneticist and archaeologist, says that the one sample is not enough evidence to study the entire human population.
We could know something about the extent of diversity in this early Birinian population with greater certainty if we had multiple genomes,
O'Rourke told the Smithsonian Magazine. However, these findings are exceptionally rare. But finding more than one sample is easier said than done.
It's hard to impress upon you how rare they are,
Potter told The Atlantic. According to co-researcher Willer Slev, before this finding, scientists only had modern-day Alaskans and Siberians to study this genome. Without more samples, nobody will know where the Birinians came from. Plus, Upward River is too young for ancient humans. Despite the age of Upward River's burial grounds, archaeologist Brian T. Weigel claims that it is too young to understand early humans.
The earliest proven trace of human activity in eastern Birinia dates to around 14.1 thousand years ago,
Weigel explained,
making the Upward Sun River site nearly 3,000 years too young to be representative of the initial human colonization of the New World.
What happened to the Birinians? After Potter's study released, which is in the scientific journal Nature, many have asked what happened to the Birinians.
We don't know,
Potter told CNN. Again, this question needs more evidence to answer. However, Potter plans to take DNA samples from the neighboring residents. Since scientists know what Birinian DNA looks like, they can determine if the gene still exists in natives. What were the Birinians like? Research has revealed a snapshot of the Birinians' life. According to Potter, they were expert hunters, eating bison, elk, rabbits, squirrels, and birds. They likely hunted through organized parties. Potter also found evidence of salmon exploitation dating back 6,000 years, meaning that the Birinians likely fished and traded as well. They might have evolved into the modern Native Americans. Potter suggested that the Birinian gene might have assimilated into the indigenous peoples of Alaska. This is a natural consequence of evolution.
It is possible that incoming Athabascan ancestors, who are widespread throughout the region today, replaced or absorbed the ancient Birinians inhabiting that area,
Potter claimed. If that is true, many people might have Birinian blood and not even know it.
Hello, thank you for watching the video. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content. If you have any suggestions for future content, comment and let me know. I know many people are uncomfortable with art, but I am saving to get the supplies to delve into other art styles. It will take time, but I hope to get into resin, woodworking and metalworking. All I ask is sub and enjoy my videos.